Now, the skeleton can be divided in two areas. The axonal skeleton, which is the middle part, and the appendicular skeleton, which is basically our limbs, okay? Our upper extremities and our lower extremities. So in this figure, they are showing you that the axial skeleton, they're showing you this in brown, as you can see there, and the appendicular skeleton is shown to you right here in green, as you can see right there. So now if we look at the bones have different shapes, right? That's why we said they're going to be long, short, irregular, etc., etc. Now, each bone is going to have different parts, different areas. And you can see, for example, that in this is a long bone. But if you look at this long bone, you see you having something round like that. That's going to be called a head. So if you have something round, you call that head. Something that goes below, after the head and is actually thinner than the head, then this is going to be a neck. So you can see here you have a head, you have a neck. When you have something sticking out of a bone like this, for example, you see this comes right here and this is actually sticking out of the bone like that, then that is going to be called a process, as you can see right now. Process. When you have something round and a little bit long like this, then that's a condyle. When you have a hole, they're showing you the hole right here. When you have a hole in a bone, then that's called a foramen. Multiple different bones are going to have multiple different parts. And these parts are the ones that you need to know for your test. We're going to talk about the bones and the parts that these bones are going to have, right? So I think this is going to be, you can see here the frontal bone, which is that one right there. You can see this is your head, but your head is composed of multiple different bones. One of them is going to be the frontal bone, as you can see right there. We keep moving right here. We're going to have the temporal bone, which is going to be this one. If we go over here, we have the temporal bone in there, right? So then what is this part right here that is the pointy part that I was telling you? This is going to be called the styloid process. What is this one that is actually big like that? This is going to be the mastoid process. This one right here is going to be the zygomatic process. So, and what is this right here? This is where the hole for our ears, that's going to be called the external acoustic meatus. That right there is this going towards your face right there. This is the zygomatic bone. This bone right here is going to be the mandible. This bone right here is going to be called the maxilla. This bone right here is going to be the sphenoid bone. This one in purple is going to be the nasal bone. So this is the frontal bone. This is the parietal bone. This is the temporal bone, and this is the occipital bone. We can see here the occipital bone, which I showed you before, is going to be the green bone right here in the back. This is the occipital bone. It's basically going to occupy the base of your skull. And in this bone, we have a big hole right here. So this one right there is the foramen magnum. On each side of the foramen magnum, you're going to have some elongated round structures right here. These are going to be the occipital condyles. And that's what you have right here, occipital condyles. Right, and as I mentioned before, this is going to form the base of your skull. So you also have occipital protuberance, which you can see right here. Occipital protuberance. These are these ones right here. You see these things that you have right there? Those are going to be the protuberances that you're going to have in your occipital bone. Okay, but you can clearly see here there's another bone, this bone right here. This bone is going to be the sphenoid bone. If we scroll down right here, right, so then this is the sphenoid bone right there. And we're looking at the sphenoid bone from the bottom. If you look at this from the back, then this is the way. So if you look at this from the back, like this way, like this, like that, so then this is what you're going to see right here. This sphenoid bone is going to have wings. This one is going to be the greater wing, and this one is going to be the lesser wing. So it has two wings, greater wing and lesser wing. If this is, you may think like a bat or a butterfly, right? These are going to be the wings right there, and these are going to be the legs. The legs are going to be, of this butterfly, is going to be called the pterygoid process, as you can see right here. Pterygoid process. The body of this butterfly would be here, right? This one right here is the body, and in here there's a little fossa in there that's going to be called the scylla turcica or dorsum scyllae. So if we go to the next one, we look at the front of our face, we can see in there the ethmoid bone. The ethmoid bone is going to be located right here in your nose. This is the nasal bone. Behind the nasal bone, you're going to have the ethmoid bone. And the ethmoid bone is going to be more or less like this right here. They're trying to show you that in there. It's going to be on the inside. Okay, in there, you're going to have the lateral masses. This is what's going to be basically part of your nose right there. In the middle, what separates your nose from right side to left side is going to be this, which is going to be the perpendicular plate. The top of this bone is going to be a pointy area right here called the crista galli. On each side of the crista galli, you're going to have a plate like this. I'm putting that in red. This plate right here is going to have holes, so therefore it's going to be called the cruciform plate. That's what you see right here, cruciform plate. This one that goes down here, so perpendicular to the crista galli, which is this part right here, the pointy thing. So it will go down like this. This is going to be called the perpendicular plate. So this part right here is this perpendicular plate. You can see this is the ethmoid bone that we were talking about. And you see this pointy thing right here that goes inside your head. That is the crista galli. And this is the perpendicular plate that is going to separate basically your right side of your nose with the left side of your nose. Right here, we have the maxilla. The maxilla is this bone right here that is going to hold our upper teeth. So this is the maxilla right here like that. So this area where our upper teeth are, right? So this area right here, it's going to be the alveolar margin. We're going to have a hole right here. The infraorbital foramen is going to be called infra because it's below your orbit. So it's going to be called infraorbital foramen. And in your maxilla, you're also going to have in here that inside the bone, in the bone itself, you're going to have some cavities in there. And those are going to be called sinuses. If we go over here, and then we have the zygomatic bone. The one in light blue right there, that's the zygomatic bone. The zygomatic bone has this extension right there that is going to get in contact with the zygomatic process coming from the temporal bone. This part right here is going to be the temporal process. If we scroll down, we have the mandible. It's where our lower teeth are going to be. And it has different areas. It's going to have, this is going to be the ramus, the angle, the body. This is going to be the mandibular foramen. This one is going to be the notch. It's going to be the condyle. This one is going to be the coronoid process. Okay, so those are the different parts that you have in your mandibles. Right here, we have this bone called the hyoid bone right there. The hyoid bone is located in our neck, right there. And this is the only bone in our body that does not get in contact with another bone. The hyoid bone also has parts. And as you can see here, the middle part right here, this is going to be the body. This part right here is going to be called the greater horn. And this one right here is going to be called the lesser horn. As you can see right here, lesser horn and greater horn. Right? Those are the parts of this bone that we have right there. If we look at how our skull was formed, right, when we are developing inside our mom's uterus, you can see the same structure, right? You can see here the bones, right? You have in here parietal bone, frontal bone, occipital bone, right? But in there you can see some membranes. So when we are born, we're going to have bones in there, but we're also going to have membranes. And these membranes are what sometimes people refer to the soft spot, right? So then this part right here is going to be the soft spot. There's another one in here. There's another one in here. By the way, that's just the way people call it. The correct name for that is going to be the fontanelles, as you can see right there. So as I was saying, so then this is when we are born, right? We are going to be born with the fontanelles, okay? Now, but as we get older, all this is going to be covered with calcium, right? And where these membranes used to be, so now what you're going to have is going to be a union of these bones because this is going to be covered with calcium. So these areas where the bones are going to get together, that's going to be joint. This particular type of joint that you get in the flat bones that you have in your skull, they're going to be called sutures. Okay, so then if we go back over here to these bones, for example, so you can see that you no longer have fontanelles in here. So this is the frontal bone. and this is the parietal bone. And are they connected? Yes. By what? By this joint right here. How you call, what is that specific name of this joint? This is going to be a suture, and that's what you see right here. The names of these sutures are going to be, the coronal suture is going to be this one right here between the frontal bone and the parietal bone. So this is the coronal suture. Between the parietal bone and the temporal bone, this one right here, right? This one right here is going to be the squamous suture right there. The one between the parietal bone and the occipital bone, this one right here, that is going to be the lambdoid suture. And the one that is going in between the two parietal bones, right? This is one parietal bone, and this is another parietal bone. So in between this one right here is going to be the sagittal suture, this one right there, sagittal.